What is good, everybody? Gamer Critic back with another quick review, and today we are talking about Mouse PI for Hire, courtesy of the devs themselves, Fumi Games, who were kind enough to give me my very first review copy. So if they ever see this video, big thank you, big shout out, greatly appreciated. And more importantly, for my first game provided via review copy, I've got to say, it's a great one to start because Mouse PI for Hire, despite what some people might say, is absolutely not a 6 out of 10, not even close. I mean, easily, by and large, the first thing you are going to notice about Mouse PI for Hire is its look. You noticed it in the trailers. That's probably what pushed you to the game in the first place. I firmly believe that they wanted to make this game almost exclusively to show off their animation because it is great. Each character is so bouncy and fun to look at. The little idle animation that they have for each character, it's stuff that is so small but you really can't help but appreciate. But it's not just the characters when I talk about the 2D animation. I think my personal favorite example, more than the characters, is the guns themselves. Look at these guns. Look at the personality that they have. Look at the little wiggly animations on each gun as you shoot. Look at the reloads. The reloads of these guns are so creative and silly. When you look at all the characters and the guns, you just can't help but be charmed by all of it. And especially when these 3D environments are the background. Now, what I thought was really interesting is that when you first start the game, it's almost a little off-putting how the 2D sprites blend with these 3D environments. It honestly took a little bit of getting used to, but the more you play the game, the more you start to get more comfortable to it, you do start to embrace the weird off-puttingness of it all. And it kind of becomes something that's not really weird anymore, but just striking. It's a really unique look that is only in this game. Throw in some legitimately nice jazzy music throughout the entire game, and you have Mouse PI for Hire, where easily one of its best aspects is its presentation. The game wanted to nail that 1930s cartoon vibe, and in my opinion, I think they succeeded with flying colors. But the presentation was what I came into this game expecting to be great. I came in expecting the presentation to be one of the best parts. What I wasn't expecting the best part of the game to be was actually playing it. Mouse PI for Hire is more than just a pretty game. It is also legitimately a damn good first-person shooter. Mouse PI for Hire was longer, bigger, and way more packed than I could have ever expected. When I was coming into this game, I was expecting maybe a solid 10 to 12 hour experience where the biggest things carrying it were gonna be its visuals and its story. But no, the core gameplay itself is fun. There are many different guns offered to you that all feel great. That goes back to the animations that I was talking about. Because the animations and reloads look so cool, matched with the vibrations of the controller and the sound design of each gun, every weapon that you get in Mouse PI, to the handgun, to the shotgun, to the devarnisher, to a bone chainsaw that is clearly not in reference to anything. That allows you to chop up your enemies in pretty brutal results. I also really appreciate how they embrace that. 1930s cartoons were violent, and Mouse PI for Hire is pretty violent without getting too extreme. I mean, it can't because it's in black and white, so you can't really see any of the gore. But the death animations that you see for some of these characters with some of these guns are very fun. I mean, you set them on fire, you blow their heads off, you freaking melt the skin off their body. It's pretty brutal. All the weapons that you get in Mouse PI for Hire are really cool. But the game also manages to keep itself fresh by adding new environments pretty regularly. From the minute you start the game to the very, very end, you are introduced to whole new environments. Some are set in the city streets, some are set in the sewers, one is set at the docks, one is set at hell. Yes, you heard me correctly. It gets crazy, as you would expect from a game which is essentially a cartoon where the main character is called Jack Pepper. That doesn't... that always gets a little chuckle out of me. Between the guns and the environments, the game as a whole keeps itself fresh really regularly by keeping itself at a really good pace. The game introduces new guns, new abilities at a solid rate, and as each new ability or gun or environment is introduced, it really does help to build upon the combat to become more frantic and quick and fun. Just really, really fun. I was also impressed to see all the stuff that you can do outside of combat, which, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend it's a lot because this is, you know, first and foremost a first-person shooter, but there really is some substance to this game. There's a pretty substantial hub area that provides a place to upgrade weapons, listen to music. It even offers an in-game minigame. I love these things, and it's legitimately really fun. It's not super deep, and once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy, but it's still a really fun baseball minigame that I thought was a great addition that actually did eat up some of my time, a decent amount of my time, actually. Each level is packed to the gills with a bunch of hidden upgrades, trading cards, money, and secrets galore. It makes it so that every time you go off the beaten path of gunning down all these big bads, you are usually well rewarded. There is always something that you can go off and find, especially in my humble opinion, the safes. The safes are my favorite because they give a genuinely fun and unique spin on the lock picking minigame. Outside of the fact that Mouse PI for Hire is a legitimately good first-person shooter that offers a wide array of guns, abilities, and environments to keep you engaged for a decent amount of time, the devs at Fumi decided to go even deeper and actually add a pretty decent amount of stuff to do off the beaten path. A lot of stuff to find, a lot of stuff to collect, some side quests to do, and a legitimately fun hub world where it's fun to explore and chill in. All in all, the gameplay side of Mouse PI for Hire surprised me more than anything. And it really is the true selling point of Mouse PI for Hire. You come for the presentation, which is great, but you legitimately end up loving the game and sticking with the game because of just how much fun you were having with playing it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the story, not that there aren't great parts about it, particularly the performances. The performances among all the characters are really cool. They're all hamming it up with these cheesy ass one-liners and silliness of it all. I appreciate that the story embraces its silliness. Part of the fun of this game is the fact that it doesn't take itself very seriously, is that they are launching a bunch of these stupid one-liners and on-the-nose references. And yes, there are many references in this game, but while I think the performances were good and the game was funny, anytime it actually tried to do the emotional part of the story, and there's not many, of course, because it doesn't take itself too seriously, but when the story does attempt to get kind of heartfelt and, you know, try to tell the backstories of these characters, try to show off the relationships, I don't know, it just didn't really do it for me. Like for the plot itself, the thing that is happening in the story, I got to a point where I just kind of zoned out, because while I think the characters were funny, I just wasn't too overly invested in the mystery they were trying to solve. At the very start, I think the mystery started out strong, but then it just keeps on going, and then I just kind of got to a point where I just didn't really know what my objective was, at least story-wise. I just kind of got to the point where I wasn't really doing it for the story anymore. I was just doing it for the level and the shooting. And that's not really a bad thing necessarily, but I don't know. The game's mystery started out strong, so I was just a little, you know, bummed out that when you kept on going, it all just started to gradually lose more interest to me. There is that. And then the one other issue that I do have is that I wish there was a little more enemy design. You do technically fight different enemies, but I'm talking about how they just reskin a lot of the early game enemies and throw them in different levels with different costumes. So that means even though the enemies might look different, they fight the same or they do the same actions. And, you know, of course, when you start the game, that's cool. But then once you're at the freaking 20-hour mark and you're still kind of fighting the same exact flying enemy that does the same attack, or you're fighting the same running and gunning goon that does the same attack, or you're fighting the same brute that does the same attack as any other brute. I don't know. It just kind of starts to get a little boring. But honestly, these are nitpicks, because while the enemies might fight the same, they do attempt to switch it up a little bit because of the environments and, like I said, the actual design. Like, they actually do try to make them look different even though they fight the same. And as for the story, while I would have liked it to be a little more interesting, at the end of the day, it was still very funny because the performances are really fun. So I can't say it was necessarily bad, it was more just okay. And those cons do not in any way overshadow the many pros that Mouse PI for Hire has achieved. Mouse PI for Hire is a game that leaves its impact the second you boot it up and doesn't leave until after you roll credit. It is just a game oozing from the pixels with charm and personality. You look at this game, you look at these animations, you look at the fun, silly, and surprisingly brutal gameplay, but you just can't help but crack a smile. The devs wanted to achieve not only the look of a 1930s cartoon, but the feeling. And I believe that Mouse PI for Hire, issues and all, definitely achieved that goal. In any case, don't listen to any reviewer, IGN, giving this anything lower than a 7 out of 10. It's not that. It is not that at all. It is a fun, gorgeous game that is truly a strong first outing for these developers. And that was my quick review on Mouse PI for Hire. Again, big shout out to the developers for providing me with a review copy. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. My next video is going to be, I honestly don't know yet, but once I figure it out, I will let you know. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, you can follow me on Instagram. That's @thegamercritic. Be good people, and I will talk to all of you very soon.